Hi friends, I am certified life coach Talia Sage, here to help you transcend limitations. Welcome to the first installment of Bloom Where You Are Planted. In these next videos that I will be putting out over the course of about 8 weeks, I will be walking you through the 7 stages of grief and explaining why and how they may present in your life. For me, I strongly believe that life coaching is centered around these 7 stages of grief. We go through grief in so many different ways in our lives, whether that's from just growing from adolescence into adulthood, relationship loss, job loss, moving to different homes even. All those changes we grieve on some level. And I believe that when we get stuck, whether that's not knowing what to do next, not having the answers, that's because we are stuck on one of these stages of grief. And my intention is to help everyone learn how to walk themselves through those stages. So, before we get into the messages, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps me to reach as many people as possible, to help transform as many lives as possible, and I appreciate your help with doing so. Before we get into the video, I would like to congratulate you all who are watching this on taking the first step in transcending limitations. Just by watching this video, you have already taken the first step in life coaching and coaching yourself, self-coaching, by deciding to improve your life by gaining knowledge. Expect lots of cliches over this time, but as they say, knowledge is power. When we know better, we can do better. So, settle in, listen to these next words, and then after watching the video, take some time to reflect, maybe even write in a journal how these messages affect you and how they might be presenting within your life. Let's get into it. Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten. Neil Gaiman. The first stage of the 7 stages of grief is shock. And many of us have experienced dragons within our lives. And when we come up against a dragon, usually that first reaction is shock. You cannot believe your eyes. You cannot believe what you're hearing, what you're experiencing. And this is how many of us react to trauma, whether that's in childhood or even as an adult. We cannot believe our eyes, we can't believe our ears, we can't believe that this is the reality. And this process, these feelings, the experiences can lead us to feeling numb. It can lead us to disassociating from ourselves and from the world, leading us to sort of walk around in a fog or fantasy world, maybe even creating many fantasies within our heads just to cope with what we are experiencing. I can tell you that as a child, I lived within the fantasy world. That was the only way for me to fully make sense of why the people who are meant to love me unconditionally, my parents, why they could do and say the things that they did. And this may be how many of you have felt within life. It doesn't have to be your parents. It could be any sort of caregiver, a person of power over you, within a job, within a relationship, where you just don't want to admit the truth to yourself. And not that you don't want to, you just can't. Because admitting the truth to yourself means that you will have to deal with all those feelings, all those emotions, all the things that are going on around you. During this time of shock and feeling numb, feeling as though we're walking on a cloud, we appear perfectly normal, walking around happy. Other people usually have no idea what's going on because we're hiding it. Because once again, we can't even admit the truth to ourselves. This is the start of us learning maladaptive coping mechanisms. We escape. We learn escapism, living in fantasy worlds. We start to pick up some not great habits, addictions, and that leads to so many other things down the road. But I want you to take this time to look at your life. Reevaluate your life. Look at the ways in which you have maybe been walking around in shock, not wanting to fully admit the truth to yourself about a situation, choosing to disassociate and to not see it. Write those things down in a journal. Think them in your heads, whatever you need to do. But this is the first step that we must pass in order to move to the final stage, which is processing and accepting and transforming ourselves. So thank you for watching these messages. I hope this has brought some insight into your lives, and I'll catch you next time.